or just what to expect. Right now, the industry is going to be clean. It's clean and I got an article later about real estate agents quitting, right? From Business Insider. Talks about a bunch of agents have been quitting. So what this means is it's just making things leaner. I'll give you the Elon Musk example, right? They said he bought Tesla and he trimmed it down, cut down employees, do more with less is the saying that these corporations have now, right? They slim it down, just cut the fat out, and then you get more lean muscle and you become more productive. That may be true in our industry as well right now. So you look at just a lot of these industries, man. A lot of businesses. The more they grow, they pick up all these extra costs that don't generate revenue, right? No knock on HR, but HR is like a service. For a company, you got an HR department. They're making sure in-house things are flowing well. But are they generating money for your company? Not necessarily. So how many HR staff members do you need? So you think about these type of areas. How many of those can you let go of? Right? Can one HR person handle more? Do you need 5 of them, right? Do you need an HR director and all the other people behind them? So you're trying to cut the fat to see who's generating money and who's not, and how we can be more efficient. But if that HR person gets you the best hire to where now your company, yes, back to the Elon Musk example, he said one good engineer is better than, just paraphrasing, getting a ton of subpar engineers, right? When you think about SpaceX and then Tesla, so it went for the best talent. So if that HR person is going to hire you the best talent, they may well be worth it because the result of their job. So now as a CEO, you're looking at this thing like, man, how can I cut costs if I'm not making the revenue, right? So you're not making the money. How can you cut costs? What is going to be beneficial for you, in order for your business to survive? Because you keep pouring water into this bowl with a hole, you're going to run out of water, right? So you got to stop the leaks somewhere. And so you need to trim out whatever is a wasted expense. Office space, whatever it may be. All these extra parties, some of these companies then hire party planners. What purpose do you serve? How do you make the company grow? Or you're on the sales team, you're just a consultant. Are you actually selling anything? Has your consultation actually generated any revenue? These are just things people look at and say, I don't know, man. Maybe we can let go of this person. Anyway, so that's what this is going to do for this industry. A lot of people that are not able to survive now will quit. That's just what it is. And those just getting into the industry, or those that are able to survive the skills you learn now in a market that is so tough, I believe if the market ever settles down, will be necessary or will help you thrive when the market does settle down, right? Because it's like almost after going through. So I'll give this example. Remember back in the early 2000s, for those that are sports fans, the Western Conference was just so stacked at the time. We're talking about the Shaq and Kobe era, right? We're talking about the Lakers, the Sacramento Kings, the San Antonio Spurs, Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks. We had so many powerhouses, the Timberwolves, so many powerhouses on the Western side. the Eastern Conference was really nobody. You had the Toronto Raptors, and then whoever came out of the West was going to win it. You knew that. So it's like after you went through all these hard teams in the West, once you made it to the championship, you just won it easily. And 9 times out of 10, you swept the team coming from the East, or they barely would win one game. You know, so that is in essence what the market is going to do now. Is like you're going through all these challenges right now. If you are able to build best practices as an agent right now, once you get to that market that is a little better than this, you're just going to sweep it, right? I hope that makes sense. So what are some of these best practices? And today we're just going to touch on one quick one here, or maybe a couple. And this is something I would say I struggled with in the beginning, is consistency. And I just think about how many deals kind of slip through the cracks just because of not being consistent. I would speak to this person, get a good conversation, but remember last podcast I talked about focus on the big rocks, focus on the revenue generating activities. I would get so pulled up and caught up in personal issues going on just other aspects of business, whether it's servicing a client, whatever it may be. You just get pulled into so many different directions that when you go back to follow that lead, it's now so cold, you know, and they probably moved on with somebody else. So this is when I think, man, so speaking of scaling a business, right? Would this be time to get a personal assistant? So if that personal assistant now allows me to focus on what I'm good at or what I want to be good at, which is actually revenue creating, lead generation and conversion, if I can just lock in on that and this person is taking away all these other tasks from me, will they be worth that money, right? This is however much they ask for compensation. So these are the things you think about. And I just said being consistent, I would get going with a client, but get pulled into so many different directions sometimes that lead falls through. So that's something I would tell most agents, especially the new ones right now. That's something to watch out for, consistency. You can start something now, you do it for a week. You don't, the follow up, you don't want to be hawkish to where you drive people insane, but the follow up, right? You want to be able to build into that sale, build into that deal, like slowly build into it, talk to that person, build a rapport, relationship, but if you let things go cold, it kind of is hard to just rekindle things in the sales industry, not in personal relationships, I guess, but in sales. It's just because sometimes when you got friends, you haven't seen yourself for years, you can always just come back and get the spark going. That's not the same with sales. These people necessarily don't know you, so you're building with them unless it's a friend, but if it's not a personal friend that you're trying to work with, you got to kind of slowly build these things and that consistency in conversations to where you take it from the introduction to getting to know each other to the listing presentation or whatever it may be, to showing houses to then closing the deal. That consistency in that, I would say, something agents must focus on right now. Other thing is, I was watching this video and the guy said, "What gets measured gets accomplished." I said, "Wow, that's heavy, So track your numbers. That's what I'll say. Track your numbers. I'll try to see if I can put up a chart as I go through this. But you want to look at contacts. How many contacts to a transaction? How many people did you have to talk to get into that transaction? This number can be skewed or can be misconstrued. So it needs to be put in the proper context, right? So if I talk to 5 family members and one of them happens to be looking for a house and I get a deal, am I going to say every 5 people I talk to, I get a deal? Not necessarily. But if I go talking to 100 people, so you want to get a huge sample size, and then you see out of those 100, how many actually convert into an appointment. Then how many of those appointments now convert into a deal? Then how many of those deals now close? Because when you got the listing appointment, how many of those listings actually sell? You know, so just because you sign a listing appointment doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into a sale. Yeah, how many of those listings actually sell? So track your numbers. The reason why is talking about making your business lean and efficient. If you're running ads, for instance, I run ads, I'll check the analytics on it. Then I see how many of these, how much did I spend and what did it come up to? There are things I used to do when I first got started, I just don't do anymore. So it's not like you want to chase the golden, as they call it, shiny object syndrome. You're jumping from one thing to another. But you want to see what do you get the most bang for your buck for, and then you lock in on that. Then you can scale from there, you know. So it's just tracking your numbers. I see how many hand mails I sent out. Hand mailing may take longer to materialize than a Zillow ad, right? Or a Zillow partnership, or like a YouTube, Google ad. So just because you sending a bunch of hand mails out or postcards out and it's not materializing doesn't mean it's not effective. So don't just throw it out and say, oh, this is not working, I'm not doing that anymore. That is something you want to always have just to keep your name in your local area that you're farming, right? However, there are some behaviors that it's a waste of time, so that's why you want to track your numbers. And also, when you got your numbers, you want to compare it to a high performer in your area and you see what they're doing and say, okay, you talk to 10 people, you get 1 lead. I talk to 50 people and I get 1 lead. What am I doing that you're doing that's better, right? All right, so then you start to pick their brain. But if you track your numbers, then it just makes your business more efficient. You get to see what works, you stick with it. It's the same as I just stray off here.